Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Ruben Kronik of Vineyard Time on Martha's Vineyard. And today I want to talk about the steel Rolex watch shortage. Is it brilliant marketing or more just a matter of circumstances? Every day collectors walk into our store and ask how come they can't find the new steel Rolex Submariner or the Rolex Pepsi GMT or the Hulk or the Batman or the Batgirl or the Daytona or really any of the steel Rolex models at any of the authorized dealers, brand new from the factory at retail, when they can find them used on the secondary market or new on the secondary market. And they want to know, when will this shortage be over? And many people are convinced that this is absolutely brilliant marketing on the part of Rolex, creating a huge demand for their steel models and then not fulfilling it. Other people are convinced that Rolex got caught completely off guard with the incredible demand for steel watches we're seeing in the industry, and they've been unable to increase their supply to match the demand, and therefore we're seeing a shortage. Personally, I think Rolex has benefited and has seen a unique set of circumstances that have created this situation rather than brilliant marketing. I do agree that many other brands have piggybacked off this marketing strategy to create very successful marketing campaigns that have created huge demand for their steel watches on the secondary market with prices we've never seen before. However, Rolex is a unique company that doesn't necessarily always seem to care about its collectors or even its dealers, and their unique circumstances have created a unique situation of supply and demand. So first, let's talk about Rolex. Rolex is a huge not-for-profit. Their mission and goal is slightly different than most other watch brands. Many other watch brands are really hungry. They're hungry for sales. They're hungry to increase demand for their products, sales, to increase dealers, and to make sure that as many people want their watch as absolutely possible. Rolex is slightly different. They're already one of the largest watch companies in the world, and they're more focused on a slow, continual pace of growing and sustaining the monster of Rolex with the models they've continued to slowly change over time. Additionally, Rolex is a brand that is completely shrouded in secrecy. Historically, with their vintage models and with their new models, they do not reveal a lot of information to their collector base. They also don't reveal a lot of information to their dealers. So oftentimes the dealers don't even know what new merchandise they're going to receive month to month. But what not everyone knows is that they're also incredibly secret within the Rolex brand. Even within divisions, individuals at Rolex are discouraged and penalized for talking about industry information with the Rolex brand. They could get fired for talking about it in public, etc. So Rolex is very strict on what they release and what information they share. Personally, I think Rolex doesn't have the same need and desire to sell models. So when you're seeing this increased demand, they're in a very unique position not to fulfill it. However, it's an interesting thing for your collectors and for your dealers because it's creating a huge amount of frustration in the industry. You have a lot of impassioned and interested collectors who desperately want to get their hands on the new Rolexes at retail from a dealer and are unable to do so. That's created a lot of resentment and a lot of frustration. Additionally, you have a lot of dealers that have built out these huge Rolex displays and they're almost empty. Yes, indeed, the Rolex dealers are selling the merchandise as fast as they can get it, but it's not a great concept to be unable to satisfy your customers when they walk into the store. And you're not always able to sell them another piece of merchandise. Now, some of these different circumstances have contributed to the unique position that Rolex finds itself in. Additionally, they've closed a whole variety of dealers and they've eliminated many of their aftermarket service centers that were once independent. They used to offer more independent service with Rolex parts accounts, and a lot of that has been shut down. Some of these decisions seem sort of counter to the brand from a perspective of taking care of and building your consumer base. But Rolex doesn't have to be as focused on that because they are a different brand than the majority of brands on the market. Now, where does this leave us? It means that Rolex has been put in a situation where they're not necessarily creating the situation that we're experiencing, but rather benefiting from it. COVID has further increased the demand for Rolex watches But because the Swiss watch industry was shut down during the forced closures, they were unable to produce at the same level. Whereas so many people were home and they were thinking about watches and purchasing, that the demand has continued to increase as people have been working from home. So some of these circumstances had greatly contributed to the shortage of steel Rolex watches in the industry. Additionally, we're seeing a lot of speculation on the secondary market. Quite a few people are buying these watches to flip them. And that's created both additional resentment, but it's also taken some of the supply that traditionally would have went directly to collectors and put it into the market in a very different way than we've traditionally seen. So some of these are the reasons that I feel like there's more of a unique set of circumstances that have contributed to Rolex finding itself in the short supply and increased demand rather than nearly as much of a proactive marketing strategy. Now, I'm super interested to hear what you have to say. Feel free to post any comments below and we can continue to talk about it. If you're looking for a Rolex watch, feel free to reach out to us and hopefully you will find your piece soon. Feel free to check us out at vineyard_time. That's our Instagram, or www.vineyardtime.com as our website. And we will have more exciting content for you soon. Thanks so much for tuning in.